It's another day and it's time for us to sit down again on Newsnight. Tonight, we turn the spotlight on identity, information and inclusion in Nigeria. With the signing of the new NIMC Act 2026, the National Identity Management Commission has been handed a stronger mandate to deliver a secure, unified digital identity system for every Nigerian. But what does this mean in practical terms? How will it affect the daily lives of citizens? How will it reshape the way businesses operate and better protect Nigerians while making life easier? Helping us unpack these questions is the Director General of the National Identity Management Commission. Together, we'll explore the promise, the pitfalls, and the progress of Nigeria's digital identity journey. Digi, thank you very much for having us in your office.
Thank you for creating the time to be here.
Lovely. Now, I'd like us to go straight into this. Now, the last time we spoke, we touched on a lot of issues, but it appears the landscape has changed. You now have the act you so wanted, the new NIMC Act. Can you tell us about the journey to get that act into place?
So for us, our digital journey started obviously in 2007. As you know, prior to that, there was an act that was repealed to enact the National Identity Management Act 2007, which was done, I think, May 26 in 2007. And what we have now done, 19 years after, well, it's never too late.
True.
And I think that the timing couldn't be more apt, is for the assent of the new NIMC Act, you know, by Mr. President, which was done on June 26, 2026.
Yes.
And so we're very excited about it because it then expands our authority, our mandate, and enables us to be able to do all the things we need to do. So the Act previously did not capture a lot of things that have happened in 19 years. And as you already know, that with technology evolving at a rapidly fast rate, you know, there's so much that needs to be done. And so we wanted to make sure that that was worked on and our authorities have been expanded as it should be. So the Act now reinforces us as a foundational identity trust for Nigeria.
I'm interested in ensuring that Nigerians understand the key differences. Like you noted, 19 years is a long time. In technological terms, it's more than that because things change very rapidly. I think one of the things you said is that it will make you the number one, you said the core person in charge. Has that not always been the case? So
from a citizen's perspective, you go to one office, they ask you to fill in one form.
Yes.
You move to another office, they ask you to fill in the same information. So repetitive data collection across board, that will stop because it then unifies all identities, which means that it's one identity for all citizens. And then it makes life easier for you. So all you need to do is, give them your name, which they will then verify in real time. Now we have a lot of offices that collect NIN, but they only collect it on the forms. On the paper forms. They just say submit your NIN, we're using NIN to validate. But how do you know that the NIN that person submitted is actually a real or a genuine NIN? So you have to make sure that they're able to make sure through the API integration, they're able to validate the NIN of that person, of that individual. And that's not just the only thing. It makes things a lot easier, a lot faster. It prevents identity fraud. So for example, it means that if you're only collecting the NIN on paper, as soon as I can give them your name and say it's my own name now, and how would they be able to validate it? So we're trying to make sure that we simplify things for citizens, make sure it's a seamless access for them to be able to verify themselves across board. And another beautiful thing we have done is, we have the NIN-Auth. It was part of the things we mentioned the last time.
Yes.
With the NIN-Auth is growing rapidly, people are now able to use it to authenticate their own identity. So which means you don't even need to wait for them to call up. True. From our backend through API integration. When you go yourself, you can do an in-person verification with the application, which means you can do it through several methods. You can definitely use the share code on the NIN-Auth to share with them. They can see your identity, or you can even scan the QR code of the service you want, and you're able to then authenticate yourself in real time.
The way you're saying this makes it look really how do I put it? Really nice. Let me put that. But a lot of our government offices are not online. You still, just as you noted, they're still collecting on paper. Is there any way you're looking at how to help or working with
so
people? So
immediately that the president assented the bill, the first thing I did was a stakeholder engagement. Mm-hmm. I have been to at least 25 to 27 offices in the last 2 weeks. So I've seen about 16 ministers. I've seen about 7 agency heads. I've seen the SGF. I've also seen the head of service. And everybody, the love is definitely, and the willingness to collaborate is 100%. Everybody is on board, to ensure that we collaborate. So what we're doing right now is we're going around discussing with them and also letting them understand, first of all, the president has accepted the bill, and then letting them know the implications for their different areas of work. So how it's going to help them positively, make their lives, very easy, and also allow them to carry out their functions effectively and seamlessly, and so we're doing that. We're also ensuring that any of those databases that have similar roles are all, unified in that whole process. So from the citizen perspective, you should have your name.
Yes.
It should not be, I have multiple different names. You use your name. Whatever existing IDs have, we will definitely integrate them and make sure that it becomes one ID. They will harmonize with us.
Okay. Because I was just about to come to that. Right now, I'm not sure if the driver's license, the voter identity have been integrated yet.
Yes, so these are part of the things that we're doing. We've spoken to driver's license. We're having a meeting with them this week. Okay. We're doing another round of stakeholders engagement this week. And we're speaking to them. So yes, they do request for the name, but we also want to make sure that validation is done in real time. Yes. Once validation is done in real time, what that means is when you apply for a driver's license, or you even need to renew your driver's license, they will rely on the name, just like the passport office does,
yes.
for
that's your identity.
For passport issuance and also for passport renewal. So for passport issuance, you use the NIN, it will auto-populate the form, which will reduce your processing time, and then you can then proceed to include the information that immigration will require, which is their own functional data. That's what we call it, which is unique to their role. Yes. So what we're doing right now is ensuring that for foundational identity, there's only one single source of truth, which is the NIN.
I think one part I felt a lot of people would be happy about was the harsher punishment. And it's not because I'm wicked or anything like that, but I'm told the new act puts out harsh punishments or has increased the punishment for identity theft and things like that.
It's necessary. It is necessary because you see, we're all users of the name, including myself. I would leave this office one day, but I want to make sure that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's legacy in this office is that they fixed all the underlying issues here and strengthen the digital identity framework. And that's one of the reasons the act was signed into law. And so for me, it's to say that we want to make sure that years after we have left this place, that there's continuous strengthening of identity, and we'll make sure that people are punished for doing the wrong things. So the act actually covers everybody, including my staff. So my staff are very hardworking. I really like my staff a lot, and the feeling is mutual. But for those that may be a few unscrupulous elements in our midst, we don't want them to tarnish the hard work of the ones that have been working very well, that have dedicated their life to NIMC. We have to make sure that the right things are done. Our kids will use the name. Our great-grandkids will use the name. You even get to the point where you can't do anything else but your name, So we have to ensure that these things are taken care of. So yes, harsher, severe penalties. I am unapologetic about it. The right thing must be done. We must put our foot down when it comes to issues around identity fraud.
I'm interested also in enforcement. A lot of times we make the laws or the rules, but to get them enforced, how is enforcement going to be done?
Well, one of the things, like generally, across government is you have a lot of rules, policies, procedures, SOPs, but there's no enforcement of it. But me personally, as a BISOE, I have been enforcing since I've been on board across board. And what this would help us to do is we are working with Ministry of Justice, and we're also working with the security agencies. So a lot of collaborations with DSS. So for example, if we have front-end partners whose agents are, unscrupulous or misbehaving, or we even have illegal agents outside, DSS will be on top of it. If we have staff issues where our staff act up, we won't even investigate. We'll let the ICPC do the investigation for us. So there are a lot of partnerships across board. We also partner with the police, the cybercrime Office of the Cybercrime Center. What they will do is to make sure anything that has to do with like online phishing sites, illegal sites, people pretending, posing as NIMC to steal innocent citizens or suspected citizens' data from them, unknowingly, from the perspective of the citizen, we will definitely catch them. The internet has a footprint, so we will definitely catch them and we will prosecute them by law. We will do the right thing. We'll make sure that within the ambits of the law, and within the purview of the law, we will definitely address all of these issues that we have spoken about.
Before we go into more of that act, because when a lot of people talk about this, I think the information out there very clearly is you need to get your NIM.
Yes.
And the expectation is that every citizen of Nigeria should get his NIM. Yeah. How is that movement, that registration going?
So we started off the World Enrollment Exercise February 16. There was a presidential directive last year that we should hit the ground running. We must make sure that no citizens are excluded from all of the government intervention programs that are available. We must make sure that people are captured. Now, even to the extent that if people that have leprosy will be captured. So whatever infectious diseases that you have, as long as you're a Nigerian, we will capture you. We want to make sure that no one is excluded.
When is it leprosy? Because of the maybe not being able to take fingerprints?
No, so when like leprosy is a contagious illness. So what if government has a specific intervention program to alleviate the cost of that medical illness? So they have free medicine available for people that have leprosy. You won't be able to benefit if you're not captured. So this is to show you that we're going, across
you made
across the length and breadth of Nigeria to capture all of these people. We're working with civil service organizations who specialize in these areas to make sure that every single person that is classified as a person with disability is included. And that's one of the good things about the Act. It allows for us to be able to capture every single person. So there's a lot of inclusivity around the new Act, which was missing from the old Act.
When I was thinking about this, I was curious. We're trying to capture those that are of age. How are we sure, as new births come in, how are you addressing that issue?
I'm sure that if you go back to 2023 in November, the president had flagged off the first baby that was issued a NIM from birth.
Yes.
And so that's been ongoing since then, in collaboration with the National Population Commission. So we're doing that, making sure we capture babies from birth, and also the revocation of citizens who have died in real time. So to make sure that we rest the NIM. If somebody has died, we rest the NIM, so that nobody can use a dead person's identity for anything fraudulent.
But between me and you, our plan works in the urban sector. Nigeria has, I think a lot of us do not appreciate how big, how wide, and how diverse Nigeria's terrain is. The places where you can't reach by boat, you can only reach by boat, or bikes, or walking. So when this is your plan, I would like to understand, first of all, are you monitoring to ensure that children, even those born in those places, this is happening? Because it puts your work back if they are not captured at birth, and then we have to now start doing that all over again.
That is a solid question that you asked. We have a monitoring team in place that will monitor that. We have KPIs, so we have measurable targets to ensure that this is being done. And we have a working team with collaboration with NPC to make sure that this is being done. So how many births have happened on a daily basis? Have they gotten their NIM? So we try to identify whatever gaps are possible and close them. And another interesting thing that we have done is, that we have expanded, we're in the diaspora. So in African countries like Lesotho, that you're not expect us to be, we're in China, we're in Cuba, we're in Brazil. So we have NIM diaspora partners that help us to make sure Nigerians abroad are not disenfranchised from the registration process. And so we're trying to make sure that we capture all Nigerians outside the country and in the country. Now we're working with the communities. So on the state level, we've got the state coordinators, and then we have the regional heads and regional coordinators, and we also have territorial directors. They all work in sync to be able to make sure that they go around, they get all the key association heads, aware of what we're doing, and they also see all the different chiefs, the Bala equivalents, the OBs, the Igwes, the sultans, the sheikhs, or the obas, in different parts of the country, to make sure that we're able to speak to them at a community level, get their buy-in, and be able to, get them to also help us speak to the people, on ground, to be able to assist us. Now, reaching the nooks and crannies, we have partnered with the ID4D project, World Bank, which is a World Bank initiative, to get front-end partners who have been our partners for a few years now, to be able to reach those nooks and crannies, across board. So we've trained about 33,000 agents on the front-end partner side of things, and we're evaluating to make sure, are you there? Are you going to the wards you're meant to be going? If you didn't go, why weren't you able to go? Was there an insecurity issue in those wards, or why were you not able to, enroll, or is there a low turnout at the ward level, so that we're able to then make sure we, if there's a low turnout, we'll go back, we strategize and see how can we boost the numbers there, and the rest. And why we are doing it at the community level is because that's the closest to every single citizen. Some citizens they don't have funds to go to their local government. I want to make sure we make it seamless. The key word here is to make it as easy for people to be able to get their NIN enrollment as citizens of Nigeria, rather than making them stress themselves. In Nigeria for so many years, every process is cumbersome.
Yes.
So NIMC, how can we ensure that all the stress citizens have had related to the NIN in the past, how can we ensure we improve in these areas and make sure it's as seamless as possible for them? That's one of the reasons we automated the modification process, because we looked at JAMB, for example.
Yes.
You have young kids. You have to make sure that you go from a child to an adult, and you have to do that conversion here from child migration, we call it, to adult migration. And that process should be as seamless as possible. But you then find that when I came on board, I found that there are so many bottlenecks around it. So we had to review those processes to make it easier. We then obviously did the self-modification online for you to be able to authenticate your identity using your own biometrics yourself, confirming who you are. Exactly. And we have all the data protection, cybersecurity provisions on there that you must take, consent, and all these things. So we just wanted to make it easier for kids. How difficult can it be for you to go and make sure you do your NYC? We needed to make sure that with the NIN, we're able to, streamline that process. So we've actually done a lot, across board. There's also the instance of, for example, now, and this is part of the reason we have to say the Minister for Education, there are little issues that can be straightened that would make Nigerians happy. So if you look at the instances of, okay, you have your certificate,
yes,
but you want to go abroad, maybe your name on your passport does not match your certificate, all of those issues, or you want to go, your name in secondary school is now different from your name in...
I have a very good case. Colleague's daughter, whether she went and changed her name by herself, so she couldn't log into the NYSC because the name on her name was different from the name she did. And it just came up with a lot of issues.
So all of those issues, we've looked at it.
Okay.
We've reviewed it, and we've said it's a two-way thing. And this is one thing you mentioned. How do you ensure that whatever you're doing is also affected at the other end? So we're making sure that we follow through, and then we looked at it and we're like, okay, how do we resolve these issues?
Yes.
You cannot say because of a name change, you cannot go and sit an exam, or you can't get an admission into university, or you can't get an admission into a master's course outside of the country. You know what I mean? So how do we just make sure all of this are done? So this is part of the changes we're bringing to identify the bottlenecks for citizens, and how can we make sure that end to end that process is seamless for them.
I think the one that came across very clearly was the issue of which one is your first name, which is your second name, which is your surname, and some of us just jumble it up. And then later it becomes a problem whenever you're signing on. The NIM tells you, no, this is not how you wrote it there. And then now just starts.
So we've also made it easier for citizens to be able to even download their NIM digital slip.
Okay.
By the NIM now, it's free.
Okay.
We actually used to charge for it, but it's actually free as part of, our how would I say it, our way to sort of relieve the burden for citizens. So go there and go and print. You don't need to come to my office to modify your name. Yeah. You don't need to come to my office to, download your digital name slip. You just go online and do it. And you just use your ID card on the NINOth. When you're traveling locally, you're going from Lagos to Abuja, you're going from Abuja to Kaduna, just show them your ID card to identify yourself. It's on your NINOth. Your digital ID card is there, which is free. So the physical ID card will be optional. We're just trying to make things a lot easier. Yes.
Now, I wanted to find out from you before we leave this point, the people at the grassroots, you've sent out your teams. What's the feedback you're getting? Because sometimes getting people to buy in is not usually easy, but what's been their own experience?
So I will tell you that since this administration has been on board, there is a lot more awareness. A lot more people understand why they need the NIN. But, it's never enough. As a media expert yourself, you know that there has to be continuous awareness programs being done. And so that's what we're doing, ensuring that we get the awareness out. So we now have a NIMC Talk Time radio show, which will be starting. It should air every Wednesday on every single major local TV station in each state that the grassroots listen to, so that they understand, what our shows are about and our products and our services.
Why they need to
exactly. So that's one way we're doing it. We're doing a lot. We've done a lot of flyers, because of the word enrollment. Taking it to churches, taking it to. So we're working with religious leaders also on the grassroots level, on the state level, so that our state coordinators are speaking to them to also inform their church members, or the mosque leaders are informing their people. So we want to make sure everybody is aware. At this point in time, you're probably going to need your name for employment. It's going to reduce a lot of fraud across board, a lot of identity fraud. It will definitely crash it a great deal.
If it's going to change the way
Nigeria, especially when you're using your biometrics to authenticate yourself. Yes. So I'll give you an example now. The Act, one of the new provisions of the Act is you cannot collect biometric data anymore, only NIMC can. So which means if you want to validate somebody's biometric, you will call it from NIMC.
Let's take a short break now. We'll be right back. Welcome back from our short break. I would like us to pick up from where we stopped, because I think I found that really interesting. You said something about there will be no need for different components to do biometrics again. They should just depend on the NIN and the background you've already picked.
I mean, biometrics collection is one very way to be able to confirm and verify and validate that this person is who they say they are, because you can see their face, right? And you can obviously know that it's them.
Yes.
However, it's not right for multiple places to be collecting repetitive information, like I mentioned earlier, whether it's your field information, but most especially your biometrics. Your biometrics should be housed safely, under a custodian like NIMC that understands the data protection implications of these things. You can't just put your biometrics in anybody's hands because of deepfake and the likes. So it now means that going forward, duplicate collection of biometrics is no longer tolerated or allowed, and the law is explicitly clear about it in the Act. It literally means that if you go and do it, it is a punishable offense. So you will then need to rely on NIMC as the single source of truth for foundational identity, which includes the biometrics of the individuals and the verification of any individual.
And this takes effect immediately?
Immediately. But what we're doing is just to ensure we create a lot of awareness around it. So we will obviously educate the private sector. Right now we're doing the public sector education, ensuring every arm of government understands what we're saying. So we'll definitely also go and see the legislative, the judiciary arm. We started with the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General of the Federation, and then we move to going around to see maybe the CJN and speaking to the NBA, the Nigeria Bar Association, just speaking to everyone and having sensitization webinars, seminars, physical workshops around people understanding what the act means.
This new act has put a lot more work on the shoulder of the commission. And a lot of times Nigerians find that systems sometimes cannot take the load. What have you done to ensure that if you get all you want, because it's put a lot of people will now be trying to get to verify things on your website from you. How are you prepared to handle the load?
The first time you interviewed me, one of the key things I told you at the time was we're going to start doing our upgrades for our technological infrastructure. So today, I am pleased to inform you that we've done quite a bit of upgrades, and we actually have a new system. We have a NIMC 1.0, which has been helping us with registration, but we have a NIMC 2.0, which has a massive component for it, open source, just because we're looking at how do we lower our costs. And all the systems we have right now are legacy systems that basically have a lot of, vendor locked-in agreements. So we wanted a NIMC 2.0 that was free, that wasn't vendor locked in, so that we can sort of say NIMC owns it end to end, and also at the same time, going forward, the maintenance cost would be a lot, less. So we're actually signing the SI agreement with the World Bank in a couple of weeks on that NIMC 2.0. I'm very excited about it. That project will be done by December 2027 under the ID4D loan that we have, and I'm looking forward to that new system. But right now, we have done all the key upgrades to be able to accommodate the integration and harmonization. So for example, our ABIS biometric expansion happened. It was 100 million records before. It's been expanded to 250 million records. So that will be able to accommodate that. In terms of verification, it used to take about 15 seconds to verify someone's identity. It's about 8 milliseconds now. That's a lot. In terms of,
I'm sure some of us can measure that.
Exactly, in terms of improvement and how quickly it can be. Yeah. So our systems, in terms of our infrastructure, has been expanded in the back end to be able to accommodate that load that we have. To ensure even load distribution across board. Yes.
You can speak for your own back end, but it depends on the network the person is using, to depend how fast he will be able to.
So, there are standards, and this is where you have standards, and this is where standards come into place. What is the standards? What are the standards for interoperability? Because what we're talking about is interoperability. So we've integrated quite a lot of government NDAs databases. However, there's still some that still needs to scale up.
Yes.
So we're looking at all of these areas to make sure that everything is in sync. We don't want you getting, servers that are not in line or will not be able to,
and
carry out.
NIMC that is not.
Exactly. So there will be standards issued across board in terms of, interoperability, data sharing, and the rest. And this is why we're also working closely with NITA on this, because our mandate also speaks to digital public infrastructure. So which we're the home of digital public infrastructure, which speaks to shared systems that are interconnected, that will serve citizens and government, and makes it easier for the citizens to be able to access whether any services across board, whether they're private sector services or government related services. And this speaks to identity, payments, and data exchange layer. So that really helps us. We're working with NIDA to ensure that the standards are set across board, and this is one of the relationships that we're building.
I saw that.
Yes.
I think you had meetings with
we had some meetings, and also NIDA is handing over the PKI that they've been working on. They started something around PKI.
Sorry, please, PKI.
Which is public key infrastructure. So public key infrastructure is basically the technology that your digital trust is anchored on.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. You want to sign a document online. Signing it online should validate that you are who you say you are.
True.
Correct?
True.
So what PKI does is then says, okay, I issue you a set of encryption keys, public sector or private encryption keys, or linked to a digital certificate. And what you want to do is whatever communication you are sending to me, we need to be able to authenticate that. One, the guy sending the information is authenticated and validated, so we know is who he says he is, and then the device he's sending also is authenticated, because we also want to make sure that we know the device, we recognize that device and the rest. And this entire process makes sure that your messaging is as private as it can be, but the key word here is secure. You want to make sure that whatever end-to-end transaction that is happening is as secure as possible.
It's not open to third parties.
Yeah, so PKI is technically the backbone.
And they've handed this over to you.
So the PKI is the backbone for digital identity and digital public infrastructure. So yes, we're obviously doing an audit to see what they have, and we're already talking, so the handover would be done. But this is part of the conversations that we've been having. We'll still continue to work with them, because NIDA's job is really setting standards across for technology and the rest. So we have a lot of collaboration to do because of this act.
I'm trying to think of all the issues that Nigerians will want to know. And I think one of the key ones for me is, so far, how many Nigerians have you been able to get registered on the NIM? As
of last week, 137,371,081. That's 137 million, yes.
Okay. And you said something that hadn't occurred to me. My understanding was we're doing the NIM for in-country, but it appears you're going to capture those that are also out. So
government needs to plan.
Yes.
And government needs to plan for its citizens in country and also for its citizens outside the country. If you look at some countries, you will find out, for example, like Lebanon, 50% of their GDP is raised from outside the country, from the diaspora, so, and that money is what helps them, that the remittance comes back in to the country. So you want to also make sure that Nigerians abroad are not excluded. We live in a digital age. They're not excluded from services in Nigeria. They should be able to access any private sector service that they want to access in Nigeria. I want to make it as seamless for them. We cannot say you have to fly back to Nigeria to be able to access that service. No, there are already services that are online. So you want to ensure that you enable cross-border transactions, as seamlessly and as freely as it can be. But how can I authenticate you who you say you are, and you're living abroad? Am I going to fly with my documents in my hand, come to your house and start going from door to door? Hey, you're in Nigeria. Let me collect your information. I've seen you with my koro eyes. I can validate you who you say you are. No. So when you use the NIM, which is already a trusted service, then it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to, validate and do transactions, wherever you are, from the comfort of your home. And this is where we're going. This is the direction in which we're moving. From a government's perspective, we want to make sure that all the databases are harmonized, for identity as a single source of foundational truth. And we also want to ensure that you will have to scale up to meet up. So we don't want you to go and be requesting, you want one technology to install, but is it in alignment with the vision? Is it in alignment with what we need to do to be able to, build the necessary digital transformation required for us to be able to meet Mr. President's 1 trillion naira digital, 1 trillion naira economy initiative, which a large component of it depends on the digital economy. So these are some of the, initiatives we're taking to be able to make sure that, and we have targets. So we're also working with the Office of the Special Advisor of Policy Coordination to the President, Ms. Adiza Bala Usman, on how best we can ensure that, all that is being, so she's going to, come on board and ensure that everything is being monitored, KPIs are tracked, for us to be able to ensure deliverables are being met under the renewed hope agenda in line with Mr. President's 8-point priority.
I think one thing that is striking me very clearly is that you're getting a lot of data. You're getting data of Nigerians abroad, you're getting data of children being born, you're getting data of a lot of data. It's even possible you might be able to answer the issue of our population number at a point, don't you think?
Well, once we're done counting, we should be able to then give a proper estimate of the total number of Nigerians that actually have a NIM. outside of the country and in country. You know, for example, when you look at cases where Nigerians even need to be repatriated,
yes,
you need to be able to plan. Government needs to be able to
yes,
plan effectively. The budget around planning effectively, you must be able to identify the citizens, know that they have their needs. You know, you're dealing with real numbers,
yes,
not just based on, you know, a projection. You know, we can't keep running a government based on projection. We want to be able to say, okay, this is what we have, these are the total numbers we have, and how do we then plan ahead to make sure that we provide, you know, for our citizens based on what we have. Once you're able to identify the total number of citizens you have, then planning effectively would be a breeze for you, because the foundation for that is we know what we need to do for this community in this place, for that community in that place, in this region,
we're planning for
in
actual people.
Absolutely, and we're planning for actual people that do exist, you know, and you're able to, you find out that a lot of existing registers have a lot of dead people on it across board. You know, so how do we need to be able to expunge these dead people from those lists so that we know that
this is what
all the beneficiaries here are living, they're alive. You know, people died during COVID. Has that been expunged on other databases lists? You know, so it helps to improve service delivery, helps to improve efficiency in government. It's not supposed to be used to, you know, for witch hunting or anything. It's really about planning. How do we plan across board? How do we ensure we're able to deliver effectively for our people? And another thing, when you look at the budgets, you will see, oh, database here. So how do we ensure that there's a unification of all databases? And when you're able to have a central point for that, you notice that your budget would reduce. So these will start to answer a lot of so the
benefits
issues around. We ensure financial inclusion, and then you bridge that digital divide that we have across board. As little as it should be, we should be able to make sure that nobody is financially excluded in the economy, including those in the informal sector, you know, or those that are underprivileged, or those that live in undeserved or undeserved communities. We need to ensure that these things are being addressed, and we can only do that when we have data.
I would like to, I think, pick up on the point you made very clearly there. We're planning for people. But the key point will be you're planning for Nigerians. How do you ensure this registration is capturing Nigerians?
We're working with the Nigerian Immigration Service, you know, especially in across board, to ensure that, you know, we meet the requirements of those that should be captured. And so in our border state offices, we have NIMC in a lot of the NIS offices, and we have NIS in a lot of the NIMC offices. So that would help a great deal for us to be able to ensure that, you know, all the border control measures are in place and they are met accordingly.
Because sometimes you hear that some people are holding Nigerian passports abroad and they are not Nigerians, and they use it to cause a lot of problems. But I'm glad to hear you're doing that.
All of these issues will be addressed with the expansion of the Act. So all of that will definitely go to. What we have done with immigration is beautiful, and I thank the Honorable Minister, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, Honorable Minister for Interior, for the good work he has done so far under the leadership of Mr. President, because he was able to bring us together. You know, we're both under Interior. So he was able to bring us together to say, look, the NIM is the single source of truth. So for issuance of passport, the information on that name is what is used, so that you don't have issues around name modification in the future for new passport entrants. But for the renewal of existing passports, what happens in the back end is the existing data immigration had on the previous passports they had issued for you will be compared to what you have for the name. If what's on the immigration side does not match what's on the name, they will send you back to NIMC. So this is what informed, one of the reasons that informed us automating the modification process. So how can you get this done quickly online? And how can we ensure that it is you that is modifying, not somebody else? So you're required to use your biometrics to be able to authenticate your identity. What happens is it takes your picture and immediately matches that picture against what I have in my database for you and the rest, you know. And we also have to make sure for the biometrics collection that's been happening across board, a lot of it is not ICAO standard. So you need to be able to ensure that it's an account standard, because the ID card, the EID card, is a government issued document. So passport is a government issued document. You need to make sure everything's on, the account standard. So we are definitely working with, we're making a lot of changes across board,
for and
little by little.
I think the one I'm happy about, you're talking about how if there is a issue, how to resolve it quickly. Can one resolve it with is it NIN or TENT? So
the NIN allows you to authenticate yourself.
So I know I'm saying,
and also allows for user consent management. That means that you are the user. You can give, permission. You are given permission to share your data for somebody else to access your data.
I want to use the example, just following like you did just now. I'm at the NIN passport office.
Yes.
And there's a problem within the last time I did my
So
passport.
you go onto our self-service modification application to
and
do
I can do that
online immediately.
with them.
The minute you get it
I don't have to leave there and come to town.
You just go on your device,
Beautiful.
you get it done, and you don't need to leave there, and they should be able to see it instantly.
Beautiful. Yes. That's the real time.
Only time anyone doesn't see it instantly is they're not doing real-time validation. That now brings me back to
real-time validation.
Real-time validation or verification literally means that if you make that change now,
yes,
it should be reflected on the opposite end. If it's not reflected, it means the opposite end is not checking, it's just keeping your name on their local server, which they shouldn't, as opposed to verifying it in real time. So with passport now, you see the change immediately.
Definitely.
Yes. That's the handshake we've done with, Nigerian Immigration Service. We've done quite a bit around that.
I think Nigerians will say, for those that use the what do you call it?
Self-service modification.
Yes, not only the self-service. I'm saying even use their phones on apps and things it makes it look very easy a lot of times when you go to check something.
So we're creating a lot of awareness to be able to push that information. Like if you're a student, download the NINOF. You have a digital ID card. Like if police stops you, for example, on the road, show them when they ask you for your ID documents, log into your NINOF, show them your digital ID card. That is enough. If you're traveling,
show you who you are.
Yes. If you're traveling, local travel, show them your NINOF. This is your ID.
Do you think we're getting
makes it very simple.
Do you see us getting to a place where you can hold that card, and whether it is your driver's license, your whatever, that number can serve that?
Absolutely. So on the NINOF, at some point in time, you're going to see your driver's license. Every single different ID you've had, it's all going to be linked on there. So if you go onto your NINOF, I don't know if you've downloaded it.
I've downloaded it.
If you go onto it, if you log onto it, may I show you on my phone quickly?
Please, feel free.
I want to show you what we've done. You will see your tax ID automatically. So for those that we've harmonized with, you start to see your information on there. So I'm going to go to my NINOF application now, and I'm going to quickly log in. As you can see my ID card.
Yes.
Okay. And then on here, you can see scan your QR code, get a share code, do more with NINOF. When I click on this, you would immediately see you can print your name slip, your digital name slip, or you can see credit card, whatever services they have. Then you can see NHIA. Your NHIA number would pop up here. We're done with integrations this week, so you see your automatic NHIA numbers there. And your tax ID, let me go to my tax ID. You can see my tax ID. Don't zoom in too much, but my tax ID is on here.
So
every single thing that you have, and what we're going to also have is your postcode will be here also, your digital postcode, which NIPOST.
Yeah, you had that meeting with NIPOST.
Yes. So we are collaborating, what she's been able to do, which is fantastic, is to be able to ensure that, for logistics purposes, she's got a digital postcode for every building in Nigeria. So for that to be able to work, you need to be able to have identity linked to it. So we've done that, integration, and it should be up and running, very shortly. So I'll speak to the technical team. I'm sure in the next 2 weeks we should be good to go with the NIPOST. So you'll be able to see that on there. Another good thing with the NIN is, in terms of transparency, in line with Data Protection Act, You can also, on the NINOT, you can also see the list of people that have called up to verify your identity.
Wow.
That you have allowed, and the ones you also want to approve yourself. You can approve it from your phone, and you can also reject it after, because they may only need to authenticate it once. They may not need to, verify you once. They may not need to do it several times.
Give me a time frame you're looking at. Give me a time frame you're looking at when you think this will be done. So
what we're doing in terms of harmonization now with the databases, which is the biggest part of the work that we need to do, is to ensure that we digitally harmonize you without necessarily having to start moving the physical databases, because what everybody's thinking now is you're moving all the
how you're
so that infrastructure part will come in later, but most importantly, how do we speak to each other as it is now, and how do we ensure there's a two-way flow of information,
and it moves fast,
and that's what we're working on. So that's one of the things we've done with that digital handshake on the harmonization. We've done that with the tax, and we're doing that with NHI, and we start to build up across. But we've done that with student loans, because that was a lot easier, because they just started. NELFO just started, so it was easier to just credit card is easier too, because they just started, under this administration. So for those that just started, they're already using the NIM. And then also for cash transfers, you have to make sure you validate the identity.
We're getting to the point where, like it is in some countries, once they punch your name, they can see your debt profile, your credits, everything will be on your identity, digital.
Are you sure you don't want to leave the media and come and work for us?
No, I think it's you that is giving us an understanding.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's making things a lot clearer. But I think at the point I would like you to do, because it means that this will mean more to people. How do we keep this safe? Because if it has so much information about you, our understanding from what you said, you are doing your own end to keep that safe. But how do we, the people who have this information?
There's going to be a lot of education, enlightenment, awareness across board. Don't forget that the old act, there was no Data Protection Act available. Cybersecurity Bill was enacted in 2015, Data Protection 2023, and our own act was 2007. So, if you look at the new act now, it has everything in line with data protection, also the cybersecurity aspect of it. But we want to educate people quite a lot. So we're going to be working and doing a lot of collaboration, external stakeholder engagements with the public, relying heavily, on, local community leaders also to help us, ensure that the information is out there. People were doing a lot of media work. We're doing a lot of radio jingles. I mentioned the radio talk show earlier. We're trying to do a lot of billboards so that people can see it. And we're trying to also ensure that user accessibility for language. So, which means that in different languages, Pidgin, Hausa, English, Igbo, and I think we mentioned either Tiv or Igala or something, breaking it down, like the largest ethnic, based on the largest ethnic groups, across board, and make sure that people are able to understand. But we're working with NOA.
Good.
The Ministry of Information under NOA, National Orientation Agency, to help us push this information down to the grassroots level, because they have about at least 75 languages, materials converted in at least 75 languages. So we send our materials to them, they convert it for us and help us push it also down to the grassroots level.
But give my viewers something to go home with. You want to keep your needs safe, you want to keep your information safe. What do you advise?
You want to keep your NIN safe. Your NIN is already safe on the NINOT. Use the NINOT as your single sign-on for access to any service that you want to get. You can use your NINOT. Your ID card is there. It's safe. I'll tell you that 62% of the fraud that happens usually comes from that user. That citizen is the one that unknowingly gives out their information or leaves the information lying carelessly around a family member that takes that information and uses it to do identity fraud or anything. So it's always most likely the users that don't understand that. So this is why we're creating a lot of awareness on how to be able to keep your identity safe. We've provided a safe platform for you, which is the NINOT. You have access to your data within the data protection boundaries, and you're able to then do what you need to carry out safely on that application.
Digi, we'd like to thank you very much for the time and for the work you're doing. We'll keep monitoring to see how it goes.
Thank you.
Till we get to the point where, as you've put it, everybody's identity will be clear on the name.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you for coming.
Now, it's clear that more and more the issue of the national identification number is going to take a firm hold in our country, and we must all be ready for it. The new NIMC Act 2026 has set the stage for a future where identity is not just a card or a number, but the backbone of which citizens access services, how businesses operate, and how government delivers on its promises. Well, that's our discussion tonight. We'd love to hear from you, your reactions, your questions, and your contributions to the conversation. You can link up with us through our social media handles and email. And if you'd like to catch up on past episodes, simply search Newsnight on the Channels TV YouTube page, click on the playlist, and just scroll and take your pick. That's it from us tonight. Thank you for staying with us and enjoy the rest of your day.